Hello and welcome to Whittle Waffle, episode I think 9. I'm going to call this one Not Live because we're not live. So if you follow me on social media, you might have seen that I decided to record this live tonight to save myself a step, because I don't do any editing. You just get this whole stream of conscience as it is, unedited, as it comes, and then I record it and then I upload it to YouTube, and I thought I could cut a step out here because as well as being the least tech savvy person making a podcast, I'm also the laziest. And I thought I could just, save a bit of time, because it's so arduous waiting for your video to load. You don't just set it away and forget about it. But right, I did just lean over to my camera to turn the beauty filter off, and it was already off. Makeup for the win today, people. Makeup for the win. Well, not look at those, or these. Anyway, I'm not entirely with it. I was up quite a bit in the night with the horror child, so it's gonna be all over the place. But yes, if you are watching this, you're used to it. This is how I do it. This is how it goes. So yeah, how are you? It's been a little while. I don't really know why. It's just probably the lazy thing. I don't know about you, but this lockdown's getting to me a little bit at the minute. Maybe it's because it's easing off a bit and things are returning to normality a little bit, and I'm not sure if I was ready. Is anyone ready for normal? But it just seems like, oh no, you're going to be at home forever, and then all of a sudden, boom, except for now you have to do uniform shopping, but don't touch anything and don't try anything on. Now you have to go back to work and all this exciting stuff, but yeah, I don't think I'm ready yet. I've really got used to not wearing any underwear to go to work, or anything that's not seriously elasticated, and I'm not sure I'm ready for people to see more than that, and only that when I've designated the angle. So yeah, I'm not sure about it all. So yes, if I'm a little bit more than usual, you pick one of those reasons. Yeah. So mixing it up somewhat today because I wrote things down in the wrong order. But a shake's as good as a rest, isn't it? That's the actual saying. So instead of doing read first, I'm going to do watched first. That's the excitement of the shake-up. That's it. That's the extent of the shake-up. That's it. Also, I could just do it the other way around. Anyway, no, we've decided now we're going to do watched first. I thought this list was going to be really, really long, but it isn't. So I can't help thinking, what have I been doing since the last time I saw you? Because I don't know. I really don't. But this is what I've watched. Top of the list, Umbrella Academy Series 2. Have we all watched it? Did we all think it was better than Season 1? There will be spoilers. Spoiler alert. Now it's a couple of weeks since I watched this, or at least a week, so obviously I'm forgetting it already. But things that I liked. Right. So one of the criticisms that I heard, right, was that the plot was the same as the first season, in that peril of apocalypse, have to avert the apocalypse, and then you know, avert the apocalypse, right? I'm just going to shuffle my chair, sorry. But peril is usually the plot of anything actiony. So to me, that the nature of the peril had changed slightly, that didn't irritate me at all. I thought it was clever. I thought it was a clever twist that the apocalypse came with them, because they are the cause. So just moving them didn't solve the problem. I thought that was a good twist. I liked it. I also liked that it remained Vanna who was, sorry, huge spoiler, it remained Vanna who was the cause and the cure sort of thing. But what I really liked was the character development, seeing the characters completely alone, completely out of their lives, and how they're dealing with it, and what lives they created for themselves. And I think probably the only person we didn't see that for was Five, because we kind of came along with him and he was thrown into it and had to go, as he did in the last series, into save the world mode. And also that made us feel really sorry for Five, because you can see he's not dealing with it well, and he's getting, over the course of the season, he gets angrier and nastier and more desperate. And I just thought that was clever too, all the weight of the world on these young old shoulders, not soldiers, because everyone takes their two young old soldiers around with them, don't they? I know I do. But I just really, I loved everything about it. I loved that sort of the Alison's story, and quite heartbreaking how it leaves this man who she obviously really loves, and Vanna got that. In fact, everyone got a little bit of falling in love except poor Five and Luther, who's pining. But I just thought it was something more engaging. I loved the new girl whose name I've forgotten. Is it Lila? It's not, is it? What's her name? So the handler's daughter. I absolutely loved her. I loved her scenes with Diego in the hospital in the beginning. Oh, I loved everything about it. And once again, absolutely cracking, outstanding soundtrack that's been on in my ears since finishing it. Still not confirmed as far as I know that there's going to be a season 3, so just fingers and toes and everything crossed, because it's so good. It's so good. And I really have very few negatives. And that was me glancing off into the area where I keep my negatives, obviously. Did we have any negatives? Oh, apart from the violent, horrible murder of the lovely Elliot, that was sad. But that was also pushing the plot forward. I think my teen said that she didn't quite understand what the point of the Swedes were, and I quite liked that thread, although it wasn't. I preferred the Hazel and Cha-Cha version of that thread in the first series, I have to say. But it was nice to see Hazel back at the beginning of this one, which was a lovely touch. But these were less engaging, but I think that was also kind of the point, like the Swedish Terminators, weren't there? But that they brought their own humour as well. So yeah, no negatives for me. What did you think? Did you have any negatives? Did you dislike the fact that the plot was similar? What do you think? You can tell me. Oh look, we're not live. You can't. You'll have to send us a message. So there was that. The next thing we watched. Now, I had never seen the film Taken. And the Liam Neeson one with obviously the very famous "I will find you and I will kill you." That one. I'd never seen it, although obviously I knew the quote. So I watched that. I can't remember how it came about, but I decided, well, I want to watch that and we'll watch that. And then I realised it was a terrible mistake when at whatever time in the morning, whatever time at night it was, I started texting my 19-year-old daughter saying, "You are never ever leaving this country ever again until you watch this informational documentary that I have just watched." Bear in mind, we have no Liam Neeson in our family. There's nobody coming after you. So you have to watch this documentary before you leave the country again. And then she said, "I've just booked to go to Prague." And I'm like, "Not before you watch this." So I don't know if you know this, but I'm a big action movie fan, particularly action movies of the 80s. That's my bag. And I enjoyed this. It's very violent, obviously, but I'm not too opposed. That sounds awful, does it? I'm not too opposed to the heavy violence. So there wasn't that. There was something about it. Like, obviously, it's a bit that the subject matter is very disturbing and not nice. However, these things actually do happen, and it's well documented that they happen. So that didn't bother us. What kind of bothered us a little bit was, and the hubby as well, so the same thing, but the lack of sort of caring about all of the other young women being trafficked except for the daughter. And I understand that. I absolutely do. But after it was all over and done with, there's still absolutely caring about it, like a dead friend. No mention of her ever again. Oh my God, Callous. However, there were some absolutely fabulous set pieces, and what it put me in mind of was John Wick. So as soon as we'd finished watching Taken, because I'd had a couple of glasses of wine, I decided I absolutely had to watch John Wick again, but I didn't want to watch the first 15 minutes. Fast forward till the dog death. Talk about callous. So yeah, we did that. And then I was talking about this when I was a drunk Zoom call the other day about how I think it's not really Keanu's film, it's Michael Nyqvist's film, and that didn't go down well. But I think it's, may he rest in peace, I think it's his film as much as it's Keanu's film, and that's because a lot of the mythology and a lot of your sort of knowledge and then feelings about John Wick come from Michael Nyqvist's character, you know. He's a fucking Baba Yaga, you know. And I saw him kill a room full of men with a pencil, fucking pencil. He's just outrageously brilliant in that film, and I love him so much. And then, yeah, we've all seen John Wick a lot. I don't need to give you my opinion about it. And the fact that I thought it was really good, and I didn't so much like the other ones as much. Also, if any of your friends ever convince you to play a game, Shots for Headshots, while watching John Wick, I would suggest you don't do that. Don't do it. There is a really, really, really lot of headshots in that film. Don't do it. That's been your PSA. Right, what else? Yes. Right, well, one of the other things that we've been watching, it's been running for a couple of weeks. I think it's been 3 or 4 parts documentary, Red Dwarf, the first 3 million years. Have you been watching it? So, I am a massive Red Dwarf fan. Massive. I just loved it. Especially back in, the day. As you know, us oldies, I want to say. I just remember this was a thing in our house that everybody counted down till and everything stopped. Everyone was sitting ready for it starting. And you don't have that so much these days with streaming and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it was an event. And I just loved it until obviously it went off the boil, really, didn't it? And I did stop watching it. And when they decided to bring it back, I think I watched the first special that they did, and I felt a bit awkward. It felt to me watching it. Like the reason why I can't watch The Office, I get a bit, I'm embarrassed. I can't. So I didn't watch it again. Anyway, this documentary came on. It's got lots of behind the scenes clips, and it's got interviews with so many of the cast and crew, and not Rob Grant, but Doug Naylor and Ed Bye and all the cast, but not Chloe on it. All the rest of the cast. It's got like clips from conventions and it's got the wardrobe guy on talking about the cats' costumes and how they did things, and you know, Crichton's costume. They have David Ross on, who was the original Crichton and who's the voice of Toki Toaster, and I've just really loved watching this documentary. And then I thought, I think we had watched series 10. Is that the one with Jesus? I think it is. If that's the one with Jesus. I watched that one and I thought, actually, this isn't too bad. So I said to the Duffs, I said, oh, go on, let's just stick series 11 on and see what it's like. So we've watched series 11 over the last week, and I have to tell you, I freaking loved it. It's been very, very, like, laugh out loud funny. Not just sitting thinking it's funny. Do you know when you watch something like that and you think, oh, that's funny, but actually laughing, and that's been like a really nice feeling. I do think they could make more about the fact that they've aged, because they have, and they should incorporate that a little bit more. I think, you know, like there's that bit, isn't there, in Star Trek when Shatner puts his glasses on, and it's such an important little moment, an acknowledgement. And I just think they should, you know, I don't know. What do you think? That's what I think anyway. However, I don't know if it's just nostalgia, or I don't know if it's that I enjoyed watching the documentary so much, but I really enjoyed watching season 11. I think there's a series 12. So what can I just stop a minute and say what fucking palaver to watch it, because it's not on the iPlayer, and it was on demand, and we watched one episode, and then we realised we'd watched, because it was the one at the top, assumed it was episode 1. Haha, in your face, it wasn't. It was episode 2. And the next day, they'd all gone. So I was like, oh, well, I think it said at the end of the documentary, which was just on, well, it wasn't taped. It said all the episodes were available on UK TV Play app. So then, he says there's no such fucking app, and finally there was an app. We got it, and then finally got that up and running, which is an arse. It's the same as if you've ever set up the iPlayer for your telly, and you have to have your phone, and then you have to record it, and you have to press. Why can't things just work? Anyway, we got it to work, and they were all on there, and I think there's another series, so that's going to be over the weekend. Probably we're going to watch the next series of that. But I've really loved hanging back out with the boys from the Dwarf. Loved it. Although obviously it's not as good as series 2, which is the best series, and I will fight you. and I'll enjoy it. And I'll just take you apart, episode by episode, dialogue by dialogue, until you admit that I am right and you are wrong and I am the queen. And that's the end. Boys from the door. Anyway, I will link this on the blog if I can find it. But years ago now, I was asked to cover a stint on the Geek Syndicate podcast because Barry the Nuge Nugent was taking a writing break. So I was the new Nuge. I got regenerated into being the Nuge. I had such a blast doing it was just a few episodes of Geek Syndicate with Dave. And he phoned us out of the blue one day and went, oh, do you want to interview Rob Grant? And I full on geeked out. I lost the power of speech, and I just apparently made a noise which made Dave laugh for ages. And I will never forget that. It was such a cool thing. And we interviewed via Skype. Do people still use Skype? We interviewed Rob Grant, and that episode will be kicking around somewhere on the Geek Syndicate website. So I'll see if I can dig it out. I can't listen to it because I'm obviously fangirling out ridiculously. You can hear my voice shaking. It's still the coolest of cool things, and one of the loveliest things a geek friend with contacts could ever do for a person. Anyway, that was really cool. Any excuse. I haven't even watched any Red Dwarfs. I haven't even watched the documentary. I just want an excuse to talk about it. I'm sure I definitely did. Anyway, if I can dig the link out, I will. But yeah, that was one of my, top geeky moments. Anyway, if you've been like me and you're all a bit like, oh, I cannot watch it. It's okay. Honestly, you can, and it's good. It's really good. Honestly, you can watch it. And if you have been watching it, let's have a chat. Now, the other thing, I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, but I did an episode of Comic Beat Insider, which is an amalgamation of the Beat and Comic News Insider, hosted by Heidi McDonald and Jimmy Aquino, my lovely friend Jimmy Aquino. Loves him. I think the last time I talked to you, I'd just been on their podcast to talk about Willow, which was great fun, and I really enjoyed it, and they asked us to come back and this time talk about Time Bandits. So I rewatched Time Bandits, not that I actually needed to, because this is like one of my childhood classics. Then I started to think, did Jimmy and Heidi think I'm really short? Because there's a link, isn't there, between Willow and the Time Bandits. I'll have you know that I am 5'6.5". Just so you know, 5'6". That's average height for a man. So there you go. Well, nearly average height for a man is 5'7". Everybody else doing 700 Zoom pub quizzes, but I actually knew that because of Columbo. That's anyway. Going down a rabbit hole. So they were nice enough to ask us to come back anyway to talk about the Time Bandits with John Hush. Am I saying Hosh? Jimmy will correct us. I think he enjoys that. Anyway, Time Bandits. It was really lush watching it again. Actually, it had been 4.5 weeks. I'm not even kidding. We tried to get the toddler to watch it when she was not having it. It's too soon. She'll get there. So yeah, it had been a couple of weeks, but I thought I'd better watch it again just to make sure I was fresh. And for a very, very funny film, it's quite dark and sad. So if you're not like in the best place, it's not the comedy I would be recommending. However, David Warner in that film, I don't know what to tell you. Also, he's so beautiful. And I don't know if I've told you this, my husband got to meet him when he went to a convention without me, when after we just had the baby, so I couldn't go. And in fairness, it was a horror con, and you know, I don't do horror really. However, David Warner was there, and I said I would go because I really wanted to meet David Warner. But he did bring us back a signed photo, and he did tell him that he thought I thought that he was beautiful. My wife thinks you're beautiful, and he went, well, yes, of course. I am beautiful, aren't I, darling? To his wife. Isn't that lush? Anyway, Time Bandits. Film that really holds up, I think, in my opinion. It's such a commentary, and it really does stand up, and this you can see there's still a lot of lessons in that film that we are seeing played out at the moment, and it's just kind of beautiful to watch. And we watched all of the special features on the DVD, which we hadn't watched before I went on and did the podcast, so that was really good. And my favourite was well, obviously Michael Palin, of course, but my other favourite one, special features on the DVD was Blu-ray. Does anybody else just think they're interchangeable, or is that just me? Because my husband goes mad. But anyway, on the Blu-ray was an interview with the set designer, and I thought that was really interesting. So apparently she'd got the job because she'd made another set on the real extreme cheap and quick, and that's why she got, and she just like pulled magic things out of her ass, this woman, and made that film look the way it looks. And it does look incredible, you know, all those at the end, all the structures that are his toys. So you know, the evil layers made of big Lego bricks, and all of the horses and the spatials, and obviously everything's in there. And it does look beautiful, doesn't it? It really does. And it's like one of those Sunday afternoon movies to me that I used to watch when I was a kid, and it seemed to be on for the whole day, like Jason and the Argonauts. Episodes of Defenders of the Earth. I used to watch them on a Sunday afternoon. It has that feel where you want to just sit up on the sofa with your knitting, a cup of tea, watch them. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. So if you haven't watched it for a while, as long as you're in a good place, because you know, there's a lot of darkness in that film. Anyway, good darkness. Now, also on my list here is Batman trailer ? Because if I had a chance to watch it before talking to you, I was going to talk about it, but I haven't. I've seen everyone's fucking opinion already, of course, but I haven't seen the bloody trailer. And this is because I don't like trailers. I tend not to watch them, particularly if it's a film that I want to watch. I tend not to watch it. And the only exception to that rule is, I don't know if I've talked to you about my feelings about Tom Cruise, but I have deep, 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 shallow feelings about Tom Cruise. So, I will watch the Mission Impossible ones, because you can't really spoil that, can you? You just want to just watch him run. Anyway, most trailers of films that I want to see, I won't watch. I don't really watch the ones for TV either, because I just think that they're full of fucking spoilers. And it also gets everyone het up, and you think, well, you're getting het up and you don't even fucking know why you're getting het up. So if you want to watch the film, don't freaking watch the trailer. They're always full of spoilers. And it's supposed to be they used to call them teasers, didn't they? It's supposed to be a taster. It's not supposed to be a mini version of I just get cross about trailers. So so even if I'd had time to watch it, which I probably did, I probably wouldn't have watched it, to be fair. I haven't watched the Wonder Woman either. I will watch both films though. I can't, like, honestly, I can't be the only person who feels like this about trailers, but I think I am, because I think that this is one of the things that people don't understand about me and my nerdery. That most of the nerds are on it. Watch the trailer, dissect the trailer, take apart the trailer, have huge, deep, meaningful conversations about the trailer. You've got nothing to say when the fucking film comes out. I don't do trailers. Anyway, so I'm not talking about it. While I've been in not the best or like headspace, I'm fine. But I don't know about you, like anything like sort of sometimes new things I'm not kind of in the space for, and also not complicated things. So, you know, I've watched a lot of Murder, She Wrote, which is actually deeper than you think. That's a whole other conversation that I'm sure we've already had twice, and we'll probably have again. So I'll leave it for this week. I decided to start watching from the beginning, Once Upon a Time. So, if you've never seen Once Upon a Time, which I'm sure some of you are happy to say that you haven't, and some of you might not be happy to say that you have, and some of you might be like me and do not register the term guilty pleasure. I don't see why I should be guilty about telly. Be guilty about tripping old ladies up in the street. Don't be guilty about telly. Anyway, now I've watched it in the past up to, I think, about series 4. But I think this is a one that you have to be careful about binging, because, and I'll tell you for why. Well, hang on, I'll tell you a bit about Once Upon a Time first, just in case you don't know. It did run for 7 seasons, and it's been over for a little while now, so it is like, it's out there. This is not a brand new thing that I'm going to tell you about. But the first series originally, this was the premise. There was a small town in Maine called Storybook, right next to Cabot Cove, and it's populated by people who don't realise that they're fairy tale characters because they're under a curse that has wiped their memories. And the person who enacted the evil curse, the evil queen, Regina, who is so hot. She is so hot. Like, I'm not sure it's legal to be that hot. That's Regina. She's the evil queen, and she's enacted the curse because she's trying to split up Snow White and Prince Charming. She's tried several times to kill them. She fails, and this is our solution. And the cast is really good. Is Jennifer Morrison and Ginny Goodwin, Josh Dallas, who you might have known from the first Thor, and Robert Carlyle from Trainspotting, and even better than Trainspotting, Hamish Macbeth. I'm feeling very fighty on you can fight about that too. But it'll be Hamish Macbeth. Oh, now I want to watch it. Shit. Right. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, Robert Carlyle. And yes, so what you get is you get their lives in Storybook, but you also get flashbacks to the fairy tale kingdom, which is done with some very good CGI and some terrible CGI. And it is kind of awesome and terrible all at the same time. And I really, really, really love it. I really love it. It's escapism. It's got and I cannot emphasize this enough, the most beautiful knitwear. Honestly. And I just really love it. So we're already, I think, we didn't start it very long ago. We blasted through series 1 and at least half of series 2. I think that's where we're at. We might even be in series. No, we're not in series 3. I can't remember. But I can't tell you anything. I can't tell you anything. Because if you have seen it, ugh, but if you haven't, then anyway, I really like it. It's kind of corny. It's kind of brilliant. But the only problem with binging it is the cast is, like somebody said about Umbrella Academy, the cast is always in peril and there's no break from it. And sometimes that's hard. Go in if you binging it without a series break. And although that's not a problem for this first series, because you do get more sort of breaths where people are trying to find their lives, and the flashbacks to the fairy tale world and stuff are enough that you're not, that constant peril thing isn't so much of a problem. But it did, that's the reason why I stopped it. I was just like, oh, finally they fixed that. And then the next day, oh, and you're like, I was just like, oh, I need a break. I just needed a break, and I never actually went back to it, because you know what it's like. Have you got like 17 things you're watching right now and at least another 70 lined up? And this is what happens if you stop watching something. Like, we are behind with Farscape. I don't think we've watched Farscape since, I'm looking over here to my notes. I'm not sure if I talked about it. Yeah, I did. The last time I talked to you, I think I talked about it, and I don't think we've watched it since. And now it's kind of got lost a bit in the sheer amount of stuff that there is to watch, especially if you go down a Homes Under the Hammer binge watch marathon. I mean, I think we've lost 3 days straight this month to that. I think I'm telling you too much about myself. I need to get a move on, because I've got loads more to talk to you about, so maybe I'll leave some things till next time when I turn and talk to you live, because that's going to happen. Going to be verified soon. Verified. Anyway, that's it. I had a couple of other things I was going to talk to you about, but briefly, listening. Let's talk about Audible and listenings. I'm doing Audible, like audiobooks / podcasts now, because I've started listening to podcasts again. So I'll talk to you, and I'll cross out a couple of the books, and I'll talk to you about them next time. Sandman audiobook landed, and I actually had this pre-ordered. Now, there's also, not to be confused with the absolutely brilliant podcast by Eamon Clark and his daughter Jenny, which is about Sandman the comics, and that's called A Handful of Dust, and I cannot recommend that highly enough. It's brilliant. However, Sandman the Audible book, which I was really looking forward to, because the Neverwhere one was excellent, and that was a lot of the same cast: James McAvoy, Dirk Maggs, of Hitchhiker fame and so much more, produced the Sandman book, and I know it's getting a lot of positive feedback. The cast is outrageous, and I'll be honest, I'm struggling with it, because the main narrator is Neil Gaiman. Now, I've listened to Neil Gaiman narrate stuff before. He narrates the audio book of Neverwhere. There's also a full cast production with James McAvoy and stuff, so there's 2. So I've heard him narrate before, and he was great, and I think I listened to him narrate the ocean at the end of the road, the ocean at the end of that one, and that was really, really, really good. There's something about his voice in this Sandman that is getting right on my tits, and not in a good way. It sounds really smug, and it's off-putting, and I don't know how to phrase it better than that. So I'm only a couple of chapters in, and I'm struggling. So I will go back to it, because I always do with audiobooks. Sometimes you just have to let it go. All right, that's what it sounds like. I need to process that bit, and then I can go back to it. But yeah, I was so excited for it as well. So I am a little bit disappointed, but I'm sure this is just me, and I don't know if it's because Neil Gaiman had a bit of bad press before, you know, at the start of lockdown and what have you, and whether maybe that's colouring. I don't know, but I will be giving it another go, and I'll let you know how I get on with it. The other thing is, one of my favourite things at the minute, it's only about 4 episodes in, is, and I don't know if I talked to you about it last time, is Leah Remini and Mike Rinder did a television series called Scientology: The Aftermath. And they did 3 series of it, and it's really, really good. Now, I think they got cancelled, or they couldn't afford to make it, or there was something. Anyway, they're not making it anymore. They've moved to podcast form, and it's called Scientology Fair Game, and they focus on that policy of Scientology called fair game, which is how they justify how they treat people who criticize or leave Scientology, or anybody who is seen as any sort of a threat to Scientology. And by that they mean anybody who just says Scientology is a cult, then you are a threat to Scientology. So they talk about that, they talk about the practices, they talk to some really interesting people who have come out of the other side of it, sort of thing, and I'm really loving it. Now, what's different between the podcast and the teleseries is that there's nobody telling Leah Remini she has to not swear or be careful what she's saying, and so she's a freaking nutter. She's brilliant, and occasionally Mike's just sniggering and he can't even say anything because she's gone off on a sweary rant, and I love a sweary rant in a lady, I really do. Anyway, I have a bit of an obsession with Scientology, and it's nothing to do with my Tom Cruise thing. Just, I find cults very interesting in how they work and how they influence people. And if you ever do, if we ever in real life and we're having a drink, I will give you my theories about how similar Scientology and Slim World are, but that today is not that day. So they're all the things that we listen to. Oh God, I've really been talking a lot. I'll just talk to you about the comics, and then I'll talk to you about books next time. I hope that's all right. So I will mention what I'm currently reading, but I'm only a tiny little way in, is The Shape of the Water by Guillermo del Toro and Daniel Kraus, and this is from our Works reading book group, but I think I might have picked this up anyway, but I hadn't, but now I do. So I'm reading that, but I'm like literally just into it, so I didn't really have anything to say about that anyway. So what I did read, and these were both recommendations on Twitter when I asked for recommendations for comics to try. The first one is Gideon Falls, recommended by William Salmon, who is he's an SFX editor, and well, he edits other things and stuff, but he used to write the blog for SFX at the same time I did, which is how I know. Anyway, that's by the by. This is called Gideon Falls. It's by Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Dave Stewart. And here's the blurb. The legend of the Black Barn tells of an otherworldly building that has appeared and reappeared throughout history, bringing death and madness in its wake. Now its mystery ensnares and entwines the lives of 2 very different men, one a young recluse obsessed with finding hidden clues within the city's trash, the other a washed-up Catholic priest finding his place in a small town that hides dark secrets. Neither of them are prepared for what's inside the Black Barn. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I really like this. It's like, you know, is it the Red Room in Twin Peaks, the really creepy room with the giant and the dwarf who talks backwards and stuff, and scary, scary, scary Bob? It's a bit like, it like has that feel to it, I feel. And you get the 2 storylines with this guy who, it starts off with this guy who's like looking for bits of the barn. The artwork, I'm going to show you this panel because I think it's outstanding. The artwork is outstanding. If I can do it without the how amazing is that panel layout? It's just so interesting. Now what I will say is you can see in that, can you see? What I didn't notice at first when I was reading this is that the main character was wearing a mask the whole time. And I didn't notice because that has become normal now. So I didn't pick up on that until like I was quite a few pages in. I was like, oh, he's wearing a mask and this has been out a while. So pre-COVID, what's that all about? Like, it really something that would have like screamed out as being odd and different a few months ago. Fucking 6 months ago, people. Now just seemed like a normal thing that I had to actually pay attention to the fact that I'm not supposed to find that normal. So there's that. The artwork is so scary, different and scratchy and unusual, and the panel layouts are so exciting. And I have a big, we've talked about my obsession with panel layouts before, like this sort of thing. I think the panel layouts in this comic are what keeps it off balance a little bit as well, and keeps you like, I'm not quite sure what's happening, and I don't feel like I'm on even footing. And the story just got me, and my friend Connor read it at the same time, and we both said it gave us goosebumps. Like, we're both quite scared, but we couldn't tell you what we were scared about. So this is just volume 1, Black Barn. I will be ordering volume 2, and I really recommend it as well. So if you're looking for a comic to read, I had this one recommended and I would recommend it. So it's really, really good. Really good. I don't know what else to say, so we'll leave it at that. The other thing that I was recommended by Mixter on Twitter, and I really enjoyed this too. Completely different kettle of fish, but this is Batman The Long Halloween, and this is by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, and I really, really like this. So I've read some Batman, but not loads, but I've read, I think, more than I thought I had. My friend Rich is a big Batman fan, and he gives me really good recommendations. Only he hadn't recommended this. Anyway, I can't really talk about the story except for there's a serial killer in Gotham who is murdering people on holidays. So, you know, like Mother's Day or April Fool's Day, or, you know, Bank Holiday Monday or Pancake Tuesday. Only the American versions of them. And they're trying to catch him, while at the same time Harvey Dent is trying to bring down Falcone, who's a well-known Batman mobster. So you've got that, the two things going together, them trying to bring that out. Now, I didn't guess any of the twists, not a fucking single one. Now, I don't know if it was because I was reading it with Dougie in the background, because my child is obsessed with Hey Dougie, but I didn't see any of them coming, and I really enjoyed it. And it was a big read. I mean, it was a fairly expensive comic as well, so it was like 25 quid, so, you know, for 26.99. So if we weren't in lockdown, I'm not sure I would have spent that much money, because I can't afford to spend that much money usually. But while in lockdown and no childcare fees, I could, and I loved it, and I'm glad I've got it, because I'll read it again. And I don't know what else I can say about that. I really liked the art, but it wasn't anything unexpected. That sounds awful. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that this one, with all the exciting panel layouts and all the different things and playing with the storytelling, I mean, that's not what you get here. This is, you know, yeah, it's got some great artwork, but it is kind of, you know, as you would expect a comic to look at. There's no, you know, playing with the storytelling or the layout or anything like that. However, it's great to look at, and it is a good storyteller. So I'm making it sound worse. These are all complimentary things that I'm somehow making sound bad. They're not bad. It's I'm not even really comparing them, because they're not really comparable. They're not the same sort of thing at all. So and I really enjoyed both, and I'll reread both, and I think that's, you can't really give a higher compliment, but they're not the same. They're not the same thing, so I shouldn't have tried to do that, which is where we got off track a little bit. And look at us backpedaling like crazy, and instead I'll just stop. Anyway, I like them both. I've got one more sitting by my bedside table ready to read, which is The Undiscovered Country by Scott Snyder, and I can't remember the artist, but I haven't read it yet, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's it. I'll talk about the books that I read last time, because I'm such a gobshite. Anyway, knitting, mostly socks, I'll be honest. I got one finished pair. Ha 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 ha. This is Opal sock yarn, which was on sale in Wool Warehouse, and this is, yeah, plain, absolutely boring rib, cuff, heel flap, heel and foot, and I really like the yarn. And these are great telly knitting, just to knit. I can't remember if I've shown you these before, but I really enjoyed them. I enjoyed them so much I cast on another one, similar but slightly different colours, and these ones are for me, and these ones will be for Duts. He doesn't mind a bit of pink. There's a lot of plain sock knitting going on. Ages ago, quite a little while ago now, I finished this cardi for Ari, which had been sitting in a bag for ages, and it's a crime. I can't remember if I showed you or not, but the cardigan pattern is, and she's been wearing it tons, so if it's got stains on, I do apologise. I don't even know if you can see it. She's worn it tons, and I haven't even blocked it. I haven't even brushed it since I finished it. But the yarn, which is not coming out very well there, or they're like these little neon pops of pink and purple and sort of highlighter yellow, is by Dusty Dimples. The pattern is Tiny Rocky Coast by Hannah Fettig, maybe, and it's all tiny, I don't know if you can see, but it's all tiny little crisscrossing cables. No, that's not coming out. I'll put a picture on the blog. Anyway, it was really sort of fancy, nah, you can't see that, fancy cables all over it. Took us ages. The sleeves made us so mad. They sat in a bag for about 3 months before I got it back out and finished it. And I said to the little one, oh, look, Mum's made you a cardi, look. And she went, oh, no thanks. Anyway, she is wearing it quite a lot, so that's fine. I've cast on, this has just been a couple of days. This is very bright. Isn't that pretty? And I'm not sure if I'm liking it, to be honest with you. The yarn is incredible, and this is Wool Miser yarn, which is a German independent dyer, and their yarns are beautiful and really, really saturated. That pink is just my whole world at the minute. It was really expensive. This was a treat yarn. Me and Liz went away for my 40th birthday, and I bought it then. And it's less than 400 meters, but I didn't want it to be socks, so I thought, oh, I know, I'll knit a big squishy shawl thing. But I did it on needles, I think, that are too big, and it might be too airy. I don't know. It doesn't look as bad on here. I don't know. So it's like it's going to be a triangle because it's big with my navy jacket. I don't know. I can't decide, so it's in timeout at the minute while I think about it. naughty, and I'm thinking about it. The pattern is, what is the pattern? I can't remember, and it's in my phone, so I can't tell you. It's a free pattern on, well, I would have found it on Ravelry, and that's another story. If you're one of the people who can't use Ravelry because of its terrible accessibility features at the minute, then I'm really sorry. And if you need me to get any patterns for you that are free to download on there, I'll do that for you, but it's a whole shit fest, that. Anyway, I would have got on there, but I'll put the link to the blog on my blog, but I'm not sure, because I think the problem is I love the yarn so much, and it was a treat yarn, that I need it to be a perfect thing, and that's ridiculous because it's already, how old am I now? It's already been sitting in the stash for 3 years, and so that's ridiculous. You know, it needs knitting and wearing instead of trying to find a perfect pattern for 3 years. That's ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. Well, anyway, there's that. I finished spinning, I don't know if I talked about it this time, my Massam fibre, and I plied it. It's a 3-ply, a traditional 3-ply, not a chain ply, and it's lovely. And I made this 3 skeins of it. This and I'm really pleased with it. It's some of the best spinning, by which I mean consistent rather than anything else. So I'm like, oh, I fucking made that. And then because it's kind of, it's not soft, I don't think it's really next to skin soft. And then I saw these patterns for, and I kid you not, my eldest daughter thinks that this is the saddest thing she's ever seen in her life, and that she will not be walking with me when I'm wearing them. But I'm making leg warmers. Look at that. I was like, oh, Alice, but with my hiking boots and leggings, well, is that not really hot? Because I think it is. She was like, that is just so tragic. Apparently, I'm very extra. Anyway, I'm making leg warmers. Got one finished. Haven't started the next one yet. Oh, it smells nice. Blasting through this on fire now. So, yesterday, in a cast-on frenzy, because I wasn't sure about the shawl, I decided to cast on. I got yarn for this a little while ago. The pattern is called the Zoe Fan Stitch Jacket. This is it. How cute is that? And that is in the Labour of Love. I did start a different cardigan from here, which I might have showed you, but I pulled that out. It wasn't going well. I thought I'd try this one instead. It's different yarn though. This is Sublime DK Cashmerino, and it's beautiful. So I've got this much done. So what annoyed me about this pattern is that it doesn't tell you how it's knit. It just says body cast on 110, and I'm like, well, is that top down? Is that bottom up? Is that the whole of the body? Is it just the back? I mean, what the shit? I think what it is, that's the whole of the body knit flat from the bottom up, because the next instruction is for the right front, and then the next one is for the back, next is for the left front. And that bothered us because I like to know which bit of a thing I'm knitting, and also aforementioned lazy. Like, I don't want to sit like, what fucking bit am I knitting? However, I think it is going to be like the whole lot, like round, and that's going to be like the bottom of the cardigan. Pretty though. Anyway, for all I'm just bitching about it, the actual pattern when it comes to knitted is really easy to follow and really clear, so that's good. I just really was a bit like, hang on a minute, usually in the instructions it says you are going to knit this item, you know, from the top down or from the bottom up, and I didn't. I'm just like, you're not stupid. Make it out, bozo. But yeah. Anyway, I'm enjoying it. The other big thing I want to talk about knitting, because I have got quite a lot going on knitting wise. I did do a little bit more spinning, which is a bit of a mess, because this was a bat that I spun and it had felted a bit and it was a battle, and I really wanted to enjoy knitting this because I love the colour and it's full of sparkle, and I thought it would be really fun, but it wasn't fun because it was just slightly felted, which meant that when you're drafting it, which is pulling the fibres apart a little bit so that you can get, all spinning is putting twist into wool to make it sturdier, and that's all you're doing. You're just letting twist, often controlled twist, sometimes not if you're doing a long draw or a short draw. So all you need to do though sometimes is to pull the fibres apart a little bit to allow the twist to run up it freely. And if it's something slightly felted, it means that it's stuck like really firmly together, and you need to like really tug it and pull it apart to try and get it to open back up again so that you can get a nice smooth single. And that was just felt like a battle, so it wasn't fun, so I was glad it was done. And that's been sitting in timeout for a little bit. Like that. I am a ridiculous person. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about, and this is going to be hardcore nitty people, I make no apologies. I have, over the last few weeks, fallen madly and completely and totally in love with a lady called Patty Lyons. Probably sounds much nicer not said in a Geordie accent, but there you go. She's a knitwear designer and teacher, and she lives in New York, and she has been doing, during lockdown, a video podcast on the YouTubes called Patty's Quarantine #1 up to number whatever, and it's been the thing over the last couple of weeks that has really kept me, given me some space to be by myself, because nobody wants to go and watch it with us, which is great, and really giving us a time out. And it's also hardcore nerdy, which there's not that many people around in my real life who are, so it's nice to have that. So I've watched all of the videos that she's put out. For the first few, it's just her talking on her own. She sometimes does some little demos of some techniques and things, but mostly it's just chat, and it's great. She's a very interesting person. She used to be a stage manager on Broadway, and she talks about that sometimes. But for the hardcore knitters among you, there are a few episodes, if you're thinking about checking it out. She does a really long video episode with Stephanie Pearl McPhee, who is the yarn harlot, and that's really good. But for really hardcore knitting stuff, look at the interviews she does with both Kate Atherley, who is a knitting designer and tech editor, and Bristol Ivy, who's also a knitwear designer. And they really get into it, the ins and outs of there's a brilliant bit where Bristol and Patty get into which is their preferred method of wrapping turns and why, and they didn't agree. And it was just really like, oh yeah, and really getting into the nitty-gritty of pattern designing and knitting techniques and best practice and all these things, and I've just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much, in fact, that I bought a Vogue Knitting Live ticket so I could watch Patty's lecture, which was about tales of woe, about people gauge fails, so forgetting to do a swatch, not doing a swatch, and what can happen. And it was so funny. It was absolute comedy genius, and it was amazing to be able to go to a Vogue Knitting Live, because I'll probably never get to go to one in real life. So being able to go virtually, it also gave you access to, you could shop the online market, and there was some free lectures and talks and meditation, things like that. So I was really, and Vogue Knitting made everything really smooth as well, so that I got an email saying this is what time your class is, get onto Zoom 20 minutes beforehand, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing that, do this, do that, do the other, press this, press that, here's a little video on how to use Zoom if you've never used it, this is what, and it was just seamless, and it was really, even this techno-tard, oh, I shouldn't say that, really found it easy. Anyway, Vogue Knitting Live, I do apologise for saying that, that's not good. Also, what I did was I bought, she does video classes that you can buy, and I bought one of her classes called Improve Your Knitting Methods and Techniques, and yesterday I learned how to Portuguese knit. I learned how to knit continentally, and I learned how to knit and purl backwards, which has been a game changer. I can't even tell you. So I've not finished all the classes. I've learned about Eastern and Western methods of knitting, which I didn't know about. I've really enjoyed it. And if you've got, obviously these things cost money. The YouTube stuff doesn't, it's all there. But to do the classes has, because that's what she does for a living. She's a knitting teacher, so, you know, fair enough. But if you've got disposable income and you're a hardcore knitter, then I really recommend that you check her out, check her classes out. I'll be buying more, and I really feel like my eyes have been opened. Now I've been knitting for a long time and I feel like I'm a really good knitter, and I can't believe how much I've learned, and I really like that. I really like it. It makes my brain feel better when I'm learning new things. So I was like, look, I'm knitting backwards. This is amazing. Nobody in my house cares. What I mean by, if you don't know what I mean by knitting backwards is here. I'll show you. I've got some knitting here. So when you're knitting, you see you've got like you one needle in this hand that has your fabric on it and your stitches, and an empty needle in your other hand. And what happens is you knit down that row or that line. When I used to say this, I finish this line. You knit down, and then what you do is when you've got this needle is full, this needle is empty, you swap them over and you do the same thing again. What I learned yesterday was to purl back. So usually you'll knit one row, turn it, purl the next row, knit, purl, and that gives you stocking stitch. So what this taught you to do is knit your row and then don't swap over and purl them back onto this side without swapping. Now you might think, when's that handy? Sleeves. If something's really heavy as well, if you've been knitting it for a while and you're having to turn when it's heavy, or if you're knitting a big blanket or something and you're not having to constantly turn it around in your lap, it's a game changer. Very excited about this. Very excited about it. Anyway, I'll stop gushing about that. But yes, Patty Lyons is my quarantine crush, to the point where when I was a bit stressed the other day, my husband said to us, why don't you just go and have half an hour with Patty? Yeah, I think I just need that. It's no way creepy. Anyway, all of those YouTube videos are there. If you're a knitter, particularly look at the Kate Atherley one, which is great. It talks a lot about yarn substitutions and the do's and don'ts of that, which is all of us could be better at, and the importance of good tech editing and what that does and what information that you should have in a pattern and how that can help and all sorts of things. It really gets in the nitty-gritty and it's great. So yes, I've still got a couple of classes left in the series Improve Your Knitting, so I'm looking forward to that. There's going to be a new Patty episode up tomorrow because she was doing a live tonight with Mary Jane Mucklestone, who's an amazing Fair Isle and colourwork designer and teacher. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be proper nerdy too. And I think that's it. And I've been talking a long time now. So that's that. Start off quite slow. How are you? Blah, blah. Now I'm like, boom! Knit this, spin this, learn this. I'm done. If you have got any questions for me, like, you know, you could edit bad words out that you regret saying, and this is how. Or any questions, or you want to chat to us about any of the things that I've talked about, you can get me at the best places are Twitter and Instagram, where I am. I think I'm Whittle Waffle on Instagram and Stace_W on the Twitter. You can also leave a comment in the box thing, which is where we keep our boxes, and you can talk to me on there. Also, I will put a blog post on my blog, which is Whittle Waffle. Oh, I never fucking remember this. I have to sing Sally's song together. whittlewaffle.blogspot.co.uk, and I'll put links, and I actually put trailers that I don't watch, links to like books and knitting patterns and all that sort of malarkey. I do put on the blog as well, so you can always send us a comment on there too. So however you want to get a hold of me, do. I am planning the next one to be live, so if you fancy joining in and talking to me while I friggin' do it, telling us I'm ridiculous, then if you subscribe, then you'll get a notification when I do it, but I'll put all that on all the social medias as well before I do it. Hopefully not as long since the last one. What did I call this freaking episode? Oh, I'm not watching it again. Right, I'm done. See you next time. Take care of yourselves. You know where I am if you need to have a geeky chat, because we all need that.